Hi there. Good morning, children. Welcome back to the poem My Mother. In the previous video, we discussed stanza and we came across the sound imagery. In the second stanza, the poet creates olfactory imagery that appeals to the nose. Here, olfactory means relating to the nose. That means smell imagery. Smell imagery is formed in the mind of the reader when he comes across the words that suggest smell or scent, fragrance, etc. The smell of shuli flowers, which are common in West Bengal, is pleasant to the senses. These mostly bloom in autumn. Here, the reader is provided with a sensory perception that appeals to the smell organ, the nose. The poet recalls his mother's presence when he comes across the scent of shuli flowers. The smell might have been registered in the mind of the poet when his mother was performing some puja or wearing the flowers in her hairdo. The poet in this stanza conveys the idea that his mother was unforgettable, though he cannot remember now. Here, he conveys the idea that the poet is a young man. You can see the shuli flowers in this image. This suggests that the poet has registered the smells that possessed his mother. Here, his mother might have performed some puja using these shuli flowers and incense in the puja mandir. Usually, a performer of puja sits before the image of the god for some time, and during this time, the body of the performer might have absorbed the smells present in the puja mandir, and these fragrant smells linger with the performer of puja for some time. Even though he leaves the puja mandir or temple, the smell doesn't leave the person who performed the puja. In the same way, the mother of the poet might have possessed this smell when she returns to her baby, I mean the child, the poet. Now, the poet during his childhood very familiar with this smell, which is often emitted from his mother, might have been registered in his mind at that age. Even now, he recalls that smell, and whenever he comes across this smell, he recalls his mother. He is reminded of his mother. That's why he brings back to mind the presence of his mother only when he comes across this smell, either at a temple or at someone's hairdo. So, he says in stanza in this way, I cannot remember my mother, but when in the early autumn morning, the smell of the shuli flowers floats in the air, the scent of the morning service in the temple comes to me as the scent of my mother. Here, let us read these lines again. I cannot remember my mother, but when in the early autumn morning, the smell of the shuli flowers floats in the air, the scent of the morning service in the temple comes to me as the scent of my mother. Here, the poet clearly conveys the idea that he formed an imagery of smell, an olfactory imagery that appeals to the nose. So, here the reader clearly understands that the stanza contains olfactory imagery from very simple words, the smell and the scent. These words can be used interchangeably. This is the way of an expert writer does in writing, because if a writer wants to express same idea in different places, he doesn't use the same word repeatedly. He uses the word that suggests the same meaning. So here the poet is successful in using different words for the same purpose. The smell of the showy flowers is equal to the scent of the showy flowers. In the same way, the scent of the morning service is equal to the smell of the morning service. Okay. Now let us see the meanings of some difficult words from this stanza. Autumn, a season. Shuli, a fragrant garden flower common in Bengal. Scent, smell. Morning service is performance of puja in temples in the morning. Now let us see the third stanza. This appeals to visual imagery. When it comes to the third stanza, the poet seems to have grown old. Still he tries to remember his mother. When he looks out through the window, he sees the vast and infinite sky. He recalls his mother's love-filled gaze on him. He feels as if his mother's love for him is as infinite as the sky. That means limitless as the sky. The sky is limitless. So is the mother's love on him. He visualizes his mother's limitless love for him, creating an imagery of vision that appeals to the eyes. And he also conveys the idea that he is an old man. From this picture we can understand that the poet, when looks out into the distant sky through the window, he imagines that his mother's fixed look on him appears to him like the sky. In his words, let us see. I cannot remember my mother. Only when from my bedroom window I send my eyes into the blue of the distant sky. I feel that the stillness of my mother's gaze on my face has spread all over the sky. Let us read once again. I cannot remember my mother. Only when from my bedroom window I send my eyes into the blue of the distant sky. I feel that the stillness of my mother's gaze on my face has spread all over the sky. Here the poet conveys to the reader that his mother had a fixed look on him, that love-filled gaze still on his face made the child register that loving gaze, the loving fixed look at him in his mind. Now, whenever he looks at the sky, he is reminded of his mother's look, because her looks on him made him remember his mother, even though he cannot remember his mother physically. Here, the mother's forehead, his mother's forehead, he likens to that of the sky, that is vast forehead, and in the middle of the forehead she might have worn a kumkum spot. The poet might have likened that kumkum spot with that of the sun. That means her mother's face was likened to the vast sky, and her look on him is also likened to the infinite sky. Let us see the meanings of some difficult words. Send my eyes means the poet looks at the sky through the window, the blue of the distant sky. Here the blue means infinite, that is likened to the vastness of the sky. The blue of the distant sky means the infiniteness of the sky. Stillness, being quiet and calm and not moving. Gaze, a fixed look. The poet in this small but sweet poem conveys a great message that the mother is worth remembering at any age. The poet is successful in conveying the poet's love towards his mother, the biological mother, and the mother, the motherland, which gave him the sustenance and shelter. Thank you.